Good morning or good evening everybody, mga kababayan. Welcome to Kasiano Easy Math. We're now on lesson 19, quadratic equations. And we have here the quadratic equation, ax squared plus bx plus c is equals 0, where a cannot be 0. Otherwise, it won't be a quadratic. And the quadratic formula is here, x is equals minus b plus or minus square root of v squared minus 4ac all divided by 2a. And before we move on, I would like to say thank you if you can subscribe to my channel so I can make more videos in the future. Okay. So in this lesson, you'll learn how to solve quadratic equation by factoring and by the use of the quadratic formula. And what is quadratic equation? It is a quadratic expression where the highest degree of the polynomial expression is of degree 2, and the expression is in the form of this one right here, ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. And a cannot be 0, but b and c can either be 0. I have just mentioned the degree of a quadratic equation is on the second degree. That is what is in here, x is squared. So that should be the highest degree of the term, second power. Otherwise, if you have x cubed or x to the fourth, that is not quadratic equation. So now we're going to start solving quadratic equations by factoring. We have here problem number 1. X squared minus 9 is equal to 0. If you notice, these are perfect squares. X squared perfect square and 9 is a perfect square. So in factoring, we had to set two parentheses over here and equate it to 0. And the first term contains the first term with the variable x. And these are the factors of x squared. Factors of x squared are x times x, since x times x is equal to x squared. In the right hand side, constant 9 is the result of factors of 3 and 3. So we put 1 3 over here and 1 on the other side. And getting the sign, we are dealing with the positive and negative values. So you get the if you notice, there's no middle term over here. Factor with an x variable is missing. So in getting the middle term is by adding the sum of these inside and outside terms of each factor. So to come up with a negative 9, a product of these two terms on each factor, if you multiply this 3 by 3, should be 9, and that should be negative. So 3 times 3 should be 9. But then if you end up multiplying positive and negative, should yield a negative sign. So that means one of these should be positive and the other one negative. It can be here, negative here, positive there, negative there, or either way, positive here or negative there. So to find the value of x over here, let's set both factors. Each factor is set to 0. So that means I can set this one to 0. So that is x minus 3. The left factor equal to 0. And the other factor can be set also as x plus 3 equals 0. Hereby we start getting the value of the variable x. And x is now x minus 3 equals to 0. And transposing the 3 to the other side, it will be positive 3. So that's one value of x. And the other value is solving this one right here. So x transposing to 3 to the other side will become negative 3. So that's the second value of x. So that's how we solve the quadratic equation by factoring. But if we were to solve the quadratic equation by any means, let's say since this equation is a two-step equation, all we have to do is from here So x squared minus 9 equals 0. All we have to do is transpose 9 to the other side. That becomes x squared equals 9. And getting the value of x, you have a square right there, the second power. To undo the second power, you have to square root that term. So square root of x squared is equals to square root of 9. And you're getting square root of 9, you get two answers, positive and negative. So this cancels the exponent 2 and cancel the radical. It becomes x is equals plus and minus. Square root of 9 is perfect square, so that is 3. So yield the same answer, positive and negative 3. So that should be the same as here, positive and negative 3. We're here now on problem number 2. X squared plus 3x is equals to 0. So by using factoring, we can factor out x over here on both terms, so that it'll be x factoring out x, become first term we have x, in the second term we have 3 remaining, and it's set to 0. If you have this, you have these two factors, set 1x is equal to 0, and the other one, this other factor, x plus 3, set to 0. So we have one value of x is 0, and solve this equation right here. X, this becomes negative 3. Transposing positive to the other side becomes negative 3. So you have two values, 0 and negative 3 for x. And if you know this one doesn't have the third term. That means c is not there, the value of c, where the standard equation of the quadratic equation is ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So that means the value of c over here is 0. That means value of c is 0. So on here. And if we go back to problem number 1, one of the term is missing, the middle term is missing. So let's go back there. So from here, first problem, that x squared minus 9 is equal to 0. So that is, we are having here, means, so ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. A is 1. Oh, I mean ax squared, I should say. So that's the first term. And the middle term is not there. So that means b, the coefficient of the second term, is 0. Since it does not appear on here. We have just the third term that is constant. So value of b is 0 over there. And on the second problem, in value of c, 0. Okay, that's what it is on here on problem number 2. Value of c is 0. We have problem number 3 over here. X squared plus 3x minus 10 is equal to 0. So this is the complete representation of the quadratic equation, where you have the value of a1, b3, and c is negative 10. So that's a full quadratic equation. So how are we going to get the value of x by factoring? So first, what we have to do is take a look at the third term, the constant. So we have to find the factor of that. So we have here 10. That's negative 10. Think of two numbers, multiply each other, make it negative 10, and add up to 3. So that will add up to 3. So what are the factors of 10? That's 1 and 10. Okay, so negative 1 and 10, that yields negative. So, and 2 and 5. So negative 2 and positive 5. And seems that one is really the answer right there. So to produce the second term, if you add this up, that's 2x and minus 2x plus 5x, that will result to the second term. That is minus 2x and then 5x. So that yields positive 3x. That's the middle term. Okay, so what we have to do is write this up back right here again. So that's x squared, this to this one right here. So that is minus 2x plus 5x minus 10 equals to 0. Since this 2 right here, if you add this up, 5 minus 2 is 3, and x is the variable. Now, if we start simplifying this one right here by grouping, so we have to factor this out too. So what we have here, factoring out x out of that is x times x is x squared minus. So you're factoring 2x out of 2x, so that will be just 2 left right there. Since 2 times x is 2x, and that's negative. And here, see, we have to factor out 5 out of these two terms. So we have x left inside minus 10 divided by 5 is 2. Equate that to 0. Since 5 times 2 is 10 negative, that's the one right there. And if you notice, you add the same factor. We factor that out, so it becomes x minus 2 times x plus 5. Equate that to 0. And we have these two factors equate that 0. That is x minus 2 equals to 0. And the other one here, x plus 5 equals to 0. And as normally, quadratic equations yield two values of x. But if the quadratic equation is a result of factoring binomials, it will be just one result, one answer. Okay, so let's go back to here. So solving for x is transposing negative 2 to the other side, that becomes positive 2. So that's x is 2. And here, the other value, transposing 5 to the other side, it will become negative 5. So you have 2 and negative 5 values of x. So we have problem number 4. 5x squared plus 5x minus 10 equals 0. So in finding the factors of this value of x right here, first thing to do is you have to multiply this coefficient of the leading term and the constant. So 5 times 10 is 50. So that's negative. So that's negative 50. Now think of a number where each factors of 50 will yield a product of negative 50 and add up to positive 5x. So first, factors of 50 is 1 and 50. So since the sign right here, middle term, is positive, to the whichever has a bigger factor, the amount should carry a positive sign. So that means 50 has a positive sign. The smaller value is negative sign. Since this is negative, third term is negative. So first factor of 50 is 1 and 50. The other one is 2 and 25. It's minus 2 and 25. And 10 and 5. So 5 and 10 is 50 also. So this negative 5 times 10 is 50. And 10 minus 5 is 5x. So this is a good candidate on that one right there. So we'll be using this one right here. Since the sign of the middle term is positive, we'll be having this. Okay, so that is 5x squared. We have here minus 5x plus 10x minus 10 equals to 0. Since if you add this up, 10 minus 5 is 5x. So these two right here yields that second term. Okay, so same way, going to group this together and get the factors of those. So factor that. So we have 5x Okay, what's left on the left side is x. Since this is minus right here. And what's left on here, factoring 5x out of it, so that's 1. Okay, and factor this out right here. So this is plus, and what can you factor right there is 10. Factor out 10 out of that, it will be x. 10 divided by 10 is 1. Since that's minus, it's minus here, so 0. And this got the same. So factor that out. So x minus 1. What you have left is 5x plus 10 equals to 0. Now we have to set these both factors to 0. So x minus 1 equals to 0. And the other one, this one right here, 5x plus 10 equals to 0. So in here, solve for x, transpose 1, negative, positive 1. That's the first answer. And here, x is equal to transposing 10 to the other side, it will become negative 10. And since this coefficient right here of x transposed to the other side, it will be the denominator. So that will be negative divided by 5. So we can still reduce the lowest term. Divided by 5, top and bottom, it will yield 2 over 1 or 2. So that x is negative 2. So that's the other value. We have here now problem number 5. 12x squared plus 7x minus 10 equals 0. Okay, so once again, to start with, we have to multiply the leading coefficient of x right there on the left. Multiply this to the constant on the right. So 12 times 10 is 120. And that is negative. Now take a look right here. The middle term is 7x. So we have to think of a number, two numbers or factors of 120 multiplied by itself will yield negative 120 and add up to positive 7. So let's start with the factors of 120. That is 1 times 120 and then 2 of 60, 2 and 60. So since this is negative, the lower number of whichever factor is will carry the negative sign. So that's negative 2 and 60, that's negative 120. And our target is 7x. If you add this up, it will yield 7x as the answer. So let's move on. 2 and 60 is 120, and minus 3 and 40 is 120, and negative 4 and 30, 4 times 30 is 120, and negative 5 and 24 is 120. 5 times 420, 120, and then 6 times 20 is 120, and then 7 is not a factor of 120, so 8. So negative 8 and 15. 8 times 5, 40, plus 8 plus 4 is 12, so 120. So this is the best candidate right there. So minus 8 and 15. So let's do that. Since if you're adding at we have here that is minus 8x and 15x, positive 15x. Add this up, it will be 7x. So that's the middle term, 7x, positive 7x. Okay, so in here now, just write it down. 12x squared. And here, this is minus 8x plus 15x minus 10 equals 0. And this yields the middle term. So 15 minus 8 is 7, 7x. 15x, 7x. Alright. So once again, we have to factor this both by grouping. So factor out x and and 4. Yeah, okay. So that's 4x. What's left on here is 3x. 4x times 3x is 12x squared minus, and 8 divided by 4 is 2, and x is gone. So then plus, factor out over here 5. Okay, factor out 5. 15 over 5 is 3, and that is x. 10 divided by 5 is 2, switch to 0. And from here, see the same thing again, so factor that out. So 3x minus 2 times here, what's left on the left side is 4x, and that's 5, equals to 0. And equate these both factors to 0. So 3x minus 2 equals 0, and the other one, 4x plus 5 equals 0. Find the value of x over here is transposing -2 to the other side become positive. Coefficient transposing to the other side will become the denominator. So that's 3, that's 2/3. It's one value of x. And here, x is equals transposing 5. It will be -5. So that is -5. If you divide both by 4, so it will be, this should be divided by 4. So that's the other value of x. X -5/4, and x 2/3. So that's x -5/4. Now let's start using the quadratic formula. Okay, so we have here the quadratic formula now. X is equals minus b plus minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 2a. So now let's solve the number 5 problem by using quadratic formula. 12x squared plus 7x minus 10 equals 0. So that's what we have right there, number 5 problem. 12x squared plus 7x minus 10 equals 0. So the answer should be 2 answers, 2/3, and the other one -5/4. Now we have to confirm that answers by using quadratic formula. All right. Okay, so we have the value of a here is 12. Value of b as a, and this is b, is 7. And c here is -10. Now we have to substitute these values now on this. We plugged in all the values of a, b, c, and find the value of x. All right. So in here, x is equal to minus b. 7 is -7. Plus or minus the square root of b squared. 7 squared, that's 7 squared, minus 4ac, where a is 12 and c is -10. So the square root all over 2, a is 12, so 2 times 12. Okay, so that is -7 plus or minus square root of 7, that's 49, minus 4 times 12 is 60. 4 times 2 is not 60. 4 times 12 is 48, times 10 is 480. That's 480. Negative times negative, that will become positive. Square root divided by 2 times 12 is 24. Okay, so let's keep going. So x is equal to -7 plus or minus square root of 49 plus 480. That is 529 divided by 24. Okay, and -7 plus or minus the square root of 529. That is a perfect square. So that is 23. So 23 divided by 24. So x here now is, if we're taking the positive value of this number right here, so let's take the positive value of that. So that is -7 plus 23 divided by 24. That is equal to 23 minus 7. So that is 16. So that is 16 over 24. Reduce to lowest term. So divided by 4. 16 divided by 4 is 4. And 24 is 24 divided by 4. Both divided by 4 is 6. And that is once again divided by 2. That is 2/3. So that is first value of x is 2/3. And if we take the negative of the factor right there, we have here x is equal to -7 minus 23 over 24. That is -30 divided by 24. That is divided by 6, both of them. That will become 30 divided by 6 is 5. And 24 divided by 6 is 4. So x here now is -5 over 4. So that's the second answer, value of x. Now, if we have to compare the answers that we got from using the quadratic formula versus the factoring method, we have the same answer, x 2/3 and x -5 over 4. Take a look over that. That x is 2/3. And the other one, x is -5 over 4. We're going to solve this number of problem by using quadratic formula. So the answer here, values of x is 1 and 2. So let's preserve those answers right there. So that is x is 1 and the other one is x equals -2. So you have those two answers. So we solved that by using the quadratic formula. Okay, so a here is 5, b is 5, and c is -10. So it's x equals minus b is 5 minus 5 plus or minus square root of b squared. 5 squared is 25 minus 4 times a is 5 and c is -10. Square root over 2a. So 2 times a is 5. 2 times 5 is 10. So let's put that 10 now. 10. Simplify. So that's -5 plus or minus square root of 25 plus, this is minus times minus, that'll be plus. So 4 times 5 is 20, times 10 is 200, divided by 10. That's equal to -5 plus or minus 224. That's square root 224 divided by 10. And we got it over here. That is, so -5 plus or minus square root of 224. That is can be factored as 4 times 56. So 4 times 56 divided by 10. So that is equal to -5 plus or minus square root of 4 then square root of 56. So k over 10, that is equal to -5 plus or minus square root of 4 is 2 and square root of 56 divided by 10. And once again, actually 56 can still be factored out. So that is 4 by 4 and 14. Since 4 times 4 is 16, 4 times 1 is 1, that's 56, so 4 and 14. So this can be factored out right there. So that will become square root of 4 is 2, square root of 14. So this becomes 2 times 2 is 4. So that's 4 square root of 14. So we have here now x is equal to minus 5 plus or minus here 4 square root of 14 divided by 10 equals, so in here taking the value, positive value right here, taking the positive value, x is equal to, it is 0.99, that's approximately 1. So if we take the negative, so x is equal to minus 5 minus 4 square root of 14 divided by 10 equal to, that is negative 1.99, and once again that's approximately equal to 2, negative 2. So we have confirmed that the value of x, 1 and negative 2 both confirmed. So our answers x is equal to 1 and x negative 2 are both correct. We have our last problem now. 2x squared minus 3x plus 4 equals 0. So x is equal to minus b, that's 3, negative times negative, plus minus the square root of b squared, so negative 3 squared, minus 4a, a is 2, and c is 4. Square root on that, but by 2 times a is 2. Okay, simplify, that is negative times negative, this positive, that's 3, plus or minus the square root of negative 3 squared, that's 9, minus 4 times 4, 16 times 2 is 32, and that's negative, divided by 4. And here, so 3 plus or minus square root of 32 minus 9. How much is that? So that is 23. That is negative 23. And we have come to this point that the radicand right there is a negative number, and we cannot we cannot take the root of the negative number. What does it mean by that? Since we will be encountering the imaginary number over here. An imaginary number, I, is the square root of negative 1. So this here right here, negative square root of negative 23, it will become square root of 23 I, since I is square root of negative 1. Imaginary number, I. So value of x now here is 3 plus or minus square root of 23 I divided by 4. So that should be the final answer. So that's all for today, but before I let you guys go, I would like you to have this practice solved by factoring, and the other one solved by quadratic formula. This is for your practice, so you can hone your skill in solving quadratic equations. And if you can see, there are already answers on the right hand side where you can compare your answers with, so you can check your solutions with it. Okay, so next lesson will be lesson 20, algebra word problems. And for all the students on mathematics or learning algebra, I encourage you guys to subscribe to my channel so you won't miss any videos uploaded in the future. And if you can hit the bell button right there so you get updated every time I upload new videos. And for those new to my channel, I would appreciate it if you can help me make more videos in the future by subscribing. And if you have any question or concern about the topic, just feel free to leave me a message in the comment section below. I will get it as soon as I get back, and I would appreciate that also if you can leave a message for me. All right, I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. You have a great day. I will see you in the next videos. Thanks. Bye-bye.